This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be good. Oh, it says we're live. It says we're live.
We're
Are we live?
live.
Oh, are we live?
Okay.
Woo!
We're live. We are. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I am Jodi Gottlieb, and I'm welcoming you to the Building Doors Instagram, LinkedIn Live for July. Yay!
Woo!
So I'll be your host today, and we're diving into underrated and untapped areas for women in voiceover that they haven't thought about. I am thrilled to be joined by Vanessa Marshall, VO actress, producer, and host. Vanessa, you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. I'm also thrilled to be here with Jessica Blue. Woo! But yes, I am a voiceover actress, and I've been with CESD since 1997. And I hear sound of some sort.
I fixed it.
Okay. Anyway, Vanessa Marshall, voice actress. I'm also a gamer, and I am in cartoons, video games. I do promos. I work in all areas of voiceover. Also, do some writing, stand up, and sketch comedy. And basically, I love storytelling, even if it's in a 30-second or 30-minute or a 2-hour window. Anyway, I'll turn it over to Jessica.
Hi.
Okay.
Take it away, Jodi.
I want to introduce my friend Jessica Blue. Let's see, voice actress and voice and casting director for dubbing. Blue, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Hi. Thank you for letting me be here. I'm so excited and so great to meet Vanessa and see my pal Jodi. Jessica Blue. I've been an actress for almost 20 years. Started out doing voiceover, and in the last 8-9 years or so, I kind of fell into dubbing, English dubbing, live action English dubbing, and love it. And kind of just started in the acting phase, but also producing, and then began directing it. And now I'm directing and casting many live action dubs. And I absolutely love it. It's super fun and challenging, and it's great. So thanks for having me.
Please, thank you for joining us. I want to tell everybody that this is interactive. So anybody watching, drop your thoughts and questions in the comments. We'll be checking in with the chat throughout the event. We'd love to hear from you. There's a little business here. I'm checking the phone number. Beyond this live, you can call, write this down, 216-307-1917 anytime during or after the event. Leave a short voicemail with your thoughts on today's discussion on the Building Doors campaign. I also want to make sure I get the names right. I also want to give special shout out to some of our supporters who recently bought us more coffee. Many thanks to monthly subscribers, Sandy Harrison Cooksey, I hope I said that right, Marion Mills, and John Lano. If you love the Building Doors campaign, our live events or podcasts, you can buy us coffee at buymeacoffee.com/buildingdoorsvo. So, Vanessa, you have worked in almost every possible genre of voiceover. Is there something you haven't tapped into yet?
Well, there's one area that I have not gotten into, and that's audiobooks. And I have so much respect for people who do the audiobooks. It's very labor intensive in terms of engineering, and I'm very comfortable engineering. I love engineering, and yet it's just, I've taken a lot of audiobook classes, and I've learned a lot about that, but I've never actually worked in that area. But again, as I said, I love storytelling. I grew up in the theater, and I feel that there's just something so sacred about that storytelling. And so audiobooks would be a natural extension of that passion, but it just hasn't quite happened yet. And not necessarily because there are doors that need to be built. I know there are many prolific women who excel in that, and I applaud them. But anyway, yeah, so that's one area that's yet to be discovered.
Good. And Blue, what about you?
Kind of the same thing. I mean, for a while I was doing long form narration, like industrials for companies. So I would be like training videos. I would be the voice that you would hear if you went to go work for Whole Foods and you were doing your employee training and you had to watch a video about sexual harassment or something. I might be the voice that you're trying to fast forward through just to get through the module, and just medical narration, that kind of thing. But I never dove into audiobook because it's the long form was enough for me and I didn't want to deal with any more than that. And so Untapped area that I will leave to the professionals. They can have it, all good. I have no desire whatsoever to do that. But that's something that I haven't really dived that much into, as well as anime. I would say I haven't really done much anime work either, because that's such a far cry from what I do in live action stuff. So
Okay, there were a couple of areas that I thought of. Wanted to get your thoughts on this. One was affiliate promo.
mm.
There's a lot of work in affiliate promo in areas that women can go after themselves, contact directly. I do hear women, I know women who are doing it, but do you think that that's an area worth pursuing?
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I used to have a couple affiliate stations in Texas, and yeah, it's just sort of fallen off. I do a lot of radio station liners. It's handled by the same agent. It's sort of considered the same department, but I'm not sure if it's a matter of there's sort of a group of women who are established doing them, and that's how that goes, or maybe that's a thing to consider, is pursuing it myself rather than waiting for my agent to send opportunities. I know a lot of people do that. It does require a certain amount of availability, and since I already have my radio stations, I'm sort of on call for them. I just want to make sure that I'm 100% available for something like that. And each deal is different. Sometimes it's like 1 hour a week. Some are more manageable than others. Others, you're like completely on call. You have to travel with a recording studio and all that. So it's definitely doable, and it's a great thing to consider for sure.
That is an area, from my experience, that women can pursue on their own. They don't necessarily need an agent. I'm going to ask you this, Blue, because you just mentioned that you were doing corporate narration. There are so many companies that need internal videos. There are areas that women don't pursue because they're specifically men, like trucks, tools. Have you done any of those, what would be considered male categories?
Yeah, I did. What was it? John Deere tractors. There was a whole thing about John Deere tractors and their user manual for how basically fixing it when the software died or when something went askew. And it was literally, you could just pull up this how-to video or whatever, and it's me telling whoever owned the John Deere tractor, this is what you do, plug this in, turn this in, reset that, or whatever it was. So yeah, definitely. And that was just through a client that was constantly churning out all types of corporate narration type videos. So some of it was male dominated, heavy, which was fantastic. Others, it was more medical. So a lot of that can be female, is heavily female, which is great. But yeah, that's, what was the other one? It was this Big Five Sporting Goods. I did one for them too. So yeah, there's definitely an area for corporate narration videos that women can definitely sink their teeth into and dive into that stuff.
You should talk to Christy about John Deere.
Oh, I can't wait. I'll ask her.
Was that ongoing, by the way?
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was a recurring thing especially as they updated modules or whatever updated software that they had. So, yeah, I was because I kind of became the voice of what they were doing. So, yeah, it was repeat, which is nice.
So, internal videos, explainer videos. I did one, I produced one for Toyota introducing the Prius.
Mm.
Wow.
That was fun, but we definitely used a man. That could have easily been a woman. I have a question for, I guess, Blue. What's the best way to practice and learn live action dubbing? Are there industry standard tools to become familiar with?
Take a class with me. I do coaching of live action dubs. So, and I run my classes, my privates, basically like an actual dubbing session. Before you can do that, though, if you want to try to practice on your own, a great way to get your feet wet, shall we say, put on the subtitles of a show on TV and mute it. And well, not mute it, but listen to how they're performing it on screen. Read the subtitles because half the battle in live action dubbing is looking at the video and then looking down and reading the lines that are screaming by a mile a minute. And so you have to get very, very proficient, very, very fast at being able to look up and see what the actor's doing with their mouth, their smile, their eyes, their body, everything, and then look down and read what it is they're saying. So if you can put on subtitles, read that. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfectly synced. And sometimes it's not exactly what they're saying. Don't worry about that. But it's just get that skill set down of shifting your eyes and view from video to dialogue. Read out loud and practice it that way. That will give you a great idea of one, how challenging it is, also how fun it is, but that'll give you a little foray into trying it out.
Good. Yeah, I tend to use subtitles, and especially in languages that I don't speak, which is very helpful. But we've talked about this, that in languages that I do speak, or at least understand, the subtitles are often different than what they're actually saying.
They are.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yes. We could spend a whole other hour just on all the dubbing
no,
stuff.
We don't want to spend the whole time on dubbing.
No.
Where do you think, like, really, what are women overlooking? We're talking about male-dominated industrials. We're talking about maybe audiobooks, although a lot of women are doing audiobooks. We're talking about affiliate promo. Have you given any thought to an area that women can pursue on their own, but they're just not thinking of it?
I feel like one area might be political. I feel like that can also be somewhat heavily male dominated. And there's a few that are sprinkled in there because maybe if it's a female candidate, they'll have a female VO, but maybe why not have a female VO on a male candidate? Because you got both female and male voters. So why not tap into that? So that might be an area that is a little underutilized, perhaps.
I have a client who makes a fortune doing political, so a woman.
Nice.
I also, I do a lot of audition coaching, and during certain times of the year, that's almost all I'm doing. Mostly with women.
Oh, good. Oh, great. Fantastic.
So we're seeing more of that. Absolutely. They are coming through agents. Do you know how women can pursue this on their own?
Me personally, I do not.
I don't.
Sorry.
Well, another area that I thought of was a movie trailer oftentimes it's kind of a catch-22, because if it's a female-centered film, they don't want a woman to announce it because it's way too much estrogen. No, we need a guy to anchor it. It's just too much estrogen. And then if it's, a male-driven thing, they need a guy to kind of guide the other guys. And women, I feel like we are not always trusted to carry the narrative for the viewer, the listener. And it's very rare that there are women who work in movie trailers. And I know a number of men have started their voiceover careers by working at a production house where they create the trailers and they scratch those trailers. And then the producer gets used to hearing the scratch, and that's how their career is born. So a way that perhaps women could look into pursuing that kind of work on their own would be to look up some of the production houses that are making movie trailers and send perhaps their demo, their website, saying, I'd be more than happy to scratch these things for you. Let me know if there's anything that you might want to try a female voice on. Maybe that's one way. I don't have a lot of experience with the political ads. I tend to not do either which way. I just sort of stay out of that genre. But I'm not, perhaps contacting, if it's a political issue that you care about, perhaps contact whomever that figure is and offer services in that way.
That's interesting you say that. Do you, either of you, feel that there's a danger in doing politicals?
I don't know about danger. That's a strong word, but I do think you cannot win either way. You can win, obviously, if you're true to yourself and but if the sound of your voice is associated with something that triggers the person who could hire you for your next job, something like that is hard for them to unhear.
Yeah.
And I feel like it creates a bias that may diminish your talent in the future in someone's ears because of their bias. And I try to do things politically that are constructive, that don't hinder me possibly in this particular world. I don't know, Jessica, how do you feel about it?
I totally agree with that. I think it depends on who the listener is, who it might trigger, and how neutral or open they could be, and knowing that this is just for this, and it doesn't mean that you believe that or whatever. I think you kind of have to be careful a little bit, depending on where your stance is and what you want to do, and kind of have that in the back of your head as to, is this something that's going to maybe shoot me in the foot down the road, or I'm going to stand by this and I don't care what happens and just do what I do because I believe in this. It's a personal choice.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a personal choice. But there's some, I know this one client who makes a fortune during politicals. She has trouble booking anything else because people who hear the demo, if they don't agree with that position, they're not going to hire her. That's why I use the word danger.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if it's something that you care about, if they're paying you 50 cents to have your career diminished ultimately in ways that you don't even know yet, for 50 cents, you gotta do the cost balance. If they're offering you like $10 million, maybe, maybe you can lower your voice.
We all have a price.
I don't know. No, but what I would say is that you have to weigh, like, maybe the voice that you use for that campaign is nothing that you actually sound like in everyday life, or you know what I mean? Like, you've got to strategize, like, what is worth it? Because we live in a time where these things are so volatile. It's a very nuanced area, and it could blow up on social media. And, I'm not saying be silent and don't be true to yourself. Play full out. I'm not saying that in the least, because equally, as much as you can alienate people, you may have some listeners who are like, oh, I want to hire her for everything. So that's why I'm saying is, like, you just don't know what you
don't know. You don't know.
I personally feel that it's better to be strategic about those things, but I don't judge anyone who does any version of them. it is what it is. But I do feel that there is, I think maybe danger is the right word.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, too, you cannot please everybody. And honestly, you just have to be true to yourself and do what you're going to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Blue, I have a question, but I'm not quite, it's not quite formulating in my head. When you're casting for a role in dubbing, is there any opportunity to cast the opposite gender?
Not usually.
For instance, in crowd scenes?
Not usually, because we're pretty true to the original cast. Because especially live action dubbing, it's very authentic, it's grounded, unlike animation or anime where it could be crazy, kooky, whatever, and you can have guys doing girls and girls doing guys and whatever. And because it's animated, it could be whatever. It could be a mailbox, and that could be either gender. Live action dubbing, we see the actual person on screen.
Right.
So we want to put a voice. More importantly, I have to believe that the voice coming out of that face, I believe it. So I need to, if it's more of a male sounding voice, I need to have a male sounding voice coming out of that face or whatever. So it just depends on who the character is. But more often I would say no, I can't.
But possibly for anime.
Yeah, definitely. Possibly. I would say, yeah.
Okay. So what do you think is the best way for women to go about pursuing some of these other areas, either with an agent or what if they don't have an agent? Especially things like we were talking about before, corporate internals, corporate learning, or whatever.
Well, I would say,
the best way to do that?
Personally, I would advise people to take your class, Connect the Dots, because you offer an incredible workshop teaching people how to be self-supporting and, create their own work and not wait for opportunities to come to them. And I think you have a ton of information in this area. So I would refer people to your workshop personally. But I do know there are certain voiceover websites, voices.com and some of these things that actually, I think Backstage, it used to be Backstage West and this and that, they have auditions in the back. There are ways to look for work that you can acquire yourself. I know people who send demos to marketing people at supermarkets to try and get supermarket campaigns, radio stuff. That's another way, whether they're union, non-union, FICOR. I don't know. I feel like you just have to kind of throw stuff out there and see where it lands. There's no right or wrong way to do it, really. But I can't help but think of your workshop that literally tells you how to connect the dots. So check it out, y'all.
Okay, Blue, do you have any insight into best way to, besides my brilliant workshop, to build a client list?
Yeah. Two things I would say, and maybe you cover this in your Connected Dots. I don't know, so I don't want to step on your toes. But
go for it.
One way, obviously, Google is your best friend. Go search for, look around your house and what products are you using or what companies make those products, and go search those companies and look at their marketing department and see if you can find a name of someone that might be head of their marketing for commercials or campaigns or whatever, and see if you can't reach out to them that way. The other way is don't be shy about being social with your friend group and family and talk to them and always say, hey, I do voiceover. Oh, I do this, I do that, because you never know what friend might work with a company that is looking for a voiceover, and you might be the perfect voice for that. So it's kind of like never dull your light, never dim your light. Always talk about it, because you never know who's listening. You never know who will connect the dots for you in that respect, of just pass it on to another person, because they might have another conversation with someone else. And hey, oh, wait a second, I know so does voiceover. They could, yeah, I could hook you up. And so you never know what could happen for that. So don't be shy about
The
tooting your own
networking
horn.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question. People are wondering, I don't know the answer to that, but how do you become the voice of those gas station TVs?
I don't know.
I don't know. Or I don't even know how they're produced. Are they produced, or the supermarket spots?
I always
Those are
thought
produced by
the
the agencies.
I always thought the same thing at the movie theater. All those commercials that you see in the theater, or the little VO ads in the movie theaters, you're waiting for the movie to start. I always thought, how do I get in with that? But again, you can see who produced whatever vignette or something, and you can write it down or put a note in your phone and then go and check them out later on, doing a little Google search.
I
Look up
know
production companies
Mm-hmm.
and see what they're producing.
Yeah.
the at least when I was the voice of Safeway, that the in-store stuff was recorded at the time of the TV and radio commercials. So oftentimes they keep the brand synonymous. Yeah, the Chevron TV, for example, I believe that's created by the ad agency that does their whole vibe and marketing. So again, it might, if you see that there are TVs on in a certain gas station, it might be worthwhile to look up their marketing department and say, I was pumping gas and, I don't know. But again, it's just sort of being creative about it. Take the risk. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. What do you got to lose?
And try to find out, like, supermarkets use advertising agencies. Find out who the agency is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just thought of another idea too. Is there's a website called iSpot TV where they have all of the commercials that ever air on television. So you could find a brand and plug in, I don't know, Clorox or whatever, and see who the company is, who produced that commercial, who the ad agency. I think they list all of the players in there. So that might be another little source to find
That's a
out
good idea.
how to connect with people.
That's a good idea. So that raised a question for me. If you're trying to, let's say, I don't know, Johnson's floor wax. I don't know why I thought of that, but it's such a strange thing for me to say. Would it be a good idea or a bad idea to voice a Johnson's floor wax spot and send it to them, sort of like the Building Doors campaign, where women are voicing typical men's spots?
Sure. Why not?
I say do it. Go for it.
Absolutely.
Again,
why not?
Take the risk. What have you got to lose? Nothing. Why not?
These days, we've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
These days, voiceover has changed. And these days, you have to take risks. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll turn out. Most of them won't. That's okay. How about, I'm trying to think of an area of production. And I like the idea of volunteering to do scratch tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of people contacting, most advertising agencies, the big ones, have casting departments. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's time to befriend some of those casting people. Mm-hmm. Take them out for a cup of coffee. Have a quick Zoom. Find out what they look for, instead of saying, hey, I'm a voiceover actress, use me. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's, hey, what are you looking for? Oh, you need a graphic designer? I happen to know one. Be
Mhm.
that person.
Yep.
I'm thinking in terms of agencies, but I think that's also true with, especially with corporate internals.
Yeah.
Have either of you done anything like that? Like just introduce people that you get no direct benefit from
All day.
all day, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all day. I mean, if you can't be helpful, what are you doing?
Hmm.
Right.
I mean, really, honestly, I'm always introducing people, depending on what area it is, trying to connect people, because you never know what gift is gonna mean the world to someone. Like you said, if you have a family friend who doesn't, you don't even know what voiceover they're looking for a voice, and there you are. I feel like there's something about the synchronicity of that, the possibility of that I think when we pay things forward, it comes back to us, and that's not the reason to do it, but um, I feel like I always think about the critical role folks who've had so much success. They didn't get that success by sitting around and masterminding it and twisting themselves into pretzels to achieve it. They did it by pursuing fun. And I feel like equally, if we're pursuing kindness, if we're pursuing generosity of spirit, of doing the right thing, I see here in the chat, Amy Gironimi, I believe is their name, that they got lots of work doing all kinds of democratic, progressive commercials. It leads to things like, if we care about things and we care about people, no one can tell you don't do that. It'll harm you. We've got to pursue things with benevolence and joy, and I feel like success follows from that. Uh, you know.
Women go about pursuing things differently than men do.
Mm.
Men will charge into a room and demand attention. Women kind of creep in. It's like, are you busy?
Amy
How,
Garonimi. Sorry, I have to correct myself. Garonimi. My apologies. I've been corrected. Sorry.
what do you think is the best way for women to take control of the situation with kindness and generosity and all of that, without apologizing for being a woman?
Stand-up comedy is really helpful because I think stand-up comedians reflect the culture back to us, right? They tell us the truth of what they see. We may not agree with it, but we respect their integrity. I've always found approaching things in a similar fashion is helpful. Again, it's sort of that pursuing joy, but having a point of view without apology that isn't caustic, but full of one's perspective, I think garners respect down the line, no matter what that worldview is. And so, I've always said, and I mentor a lot of women, and I tell them to own their power. And in owning our power, we find our voice. And in finding our voice, that authenticity leads to almost a bulletproof level of self-confidence that we can do anything, any genre is available to us. And so, again, I think it really does start from knowing who we are, what we bring to the party. Now, this has not always been the case. A lot has changed, at least since I've been in the industry. I remember when I first started, there were polls that were taken. Women didn't want to hear other women talk about cars. I don't want my mom telling me what car to buy. I don't want my aunt nagging me what car to buy. I want to hear my dad tell me. I want my uncle to tell me. I want a man to tell me what to do. And so is that misogyny on the part of men, or is that women's ears are trained to feel safer if a dad tells them what they need to be doing next? So it's almost unfair to say that these areas are not available to women because men are so terrible, or, and, we must include all gender identification here as well. I think a lot of times we're taught, what we are most comfortable hearing. I think even women need to open their ears to consider, our unity as opposed to our conflict. And I think that has changed. And I look at artists like Lizzo. When I was coming up, I was told incessantly that I was too fat to be successful on camera. And, Lizzo is obviously, losing weight or whatever. I tend to believe my soul is weightless, so it's immaterial. But I'm saying, like, even those restrictions are put on women, of sort of what we need to look like, what we need to sound like, all these barriers that, back in the 90s when I started this, maybe comedy is my go-to because men are more comfortable perhaps listening to their funny friend, but I feel like whatever way we get into owning our power, much the same way Lizzo lives without apology, from what I can tell, if we can honor that in ourselves in our own way, I feel like that leads to connecting people, paying it forward, and that generosity of spirit leads to work and fun. And, if you look at the mega success that I just said, my friends who created Critical Role, it was born out of their love for each other. So, when I teach students, I ask them to discover what it is they love and to pursue that passionately, and that everything else follows from it. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on the subject.
Back when I started out in advertising a million years ago, they had done some research, and they said that, much like you were saying, men don't want to hear women because it sounds like a nagging wife or mother, and women preferred the sound of men's voices. Recently, in the last 10 years or so, that's kind of flipped. Research shows that women prefer taking advice from women. They're tired of the mansplaining. And men, especially younger men, like listening to women. So generationally, it's changed. What would you suggest? How would you suggest somebody approach that? It would be helpful to have research, but that's not always available. So, Blue, what would you advise women to do when they're challenged by that kind of thinking?
What do you mean? What kind of thinking specifically?
Thinking of, men want to hear men. Old school thinking.
Old school thinking. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I feel like it's a matter of knowing that your voice is just as valuable as theirs. And why would you not want to hear it? Female voices deserve to be heard. So when you are breaking down that door and getting into that room with a bunch of men around the table or whatever it is, you earned that spot. You did the work. You've got the experience under your belt, and you might not think like, "Oh my gosh, I'm actually here," and be a little nervous about it, but at the same time, no, you deserve to be there. You did what you gotta do to bust that wall down, bust that door down, and get inside that room. So own it, as Vanessa said, own your power and know that you're worthy of being there. You deserve to be there, and your voice deserves to be heard because you've done the work and you have a value to add to whatever the discussion, whatever that topic is. So you have a point of view that you can share with whoever is there in the room. And you never know, you might actually change someone's mind or open up their mind once you start that dialogue and have that conversation with them. So I think it's just a matter of again, it comes back to, we keep coming back to risk taking. Just take that leap, take the risk. Because again, at that point you have nothing to do. You lose because you're already in the room. You're already there. You've already made it at that point. So why not just let it go? Get it out.
Google is very helpful if you can gather some research about men versus women and the attitudes about it. Then when you're in the room and some man says, no, a man should do this, I have found when that happens, the easiest question to fluster them is why. They never, whenever somebody just takes the stand on anything, not necessarily casting for voices, but anything, and you say why. So many times they can't answer that simple question. So yes, what you said with the addition, I'm going to add the additional line is why.
Absolutely.
It'll be, especially if you have some numbers, but not necessarily. Sometimes just asking the question.
Yep.
So, is there anything that you want to finish up, advise people, suggest to people, ask people?
Well, there was another question in the chat. Do we have any stories of a voiceover by a woman being replaced by a man? I had that exact experience. Ellen DeGeneres used to have a talk show, and I launched it. And, you would think it would be a celebration of feminine energy and this and that. But ultimately, they said, kind of like what I was saying before, they said, oh, no, we need a guy to balance it out. It's just way too much chick energy, and they ended up using a guy instead. And
Vanessa, I have to interrupt you here and say, I've had personal experience that's also gone the other way.
Great. They asked me about my personal experience with that specifically. So I have experienced it and thought, oh, well, at least I got to do it for a month and launch the campaign successfully. But it does happen. And, you just sit right for the next opportunity.
Yeah. Replacements happen all the time. And it can be a man replacing you. It can be the other way. It could be a man replacing a man, a woman replacing a woman. As a producer, I got to tell you, there are a million reasons why we replace a voice.
I've been cut out of stuff, left on the cutting room floor. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, that is the nature of the beast.
Well, I will say it was a risk for them to put a female voice on a talk show. And I was grateful to have been a part of that, no matter how long it lasted. So I took that as a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You've had a lot of wins. A lot.
Yeah, well, we're all trying to help each other, lift each other up. One thing I will say about the voiceover community, and this has been my experience, and maybe other people feel otherwise, but I don't feel like there are a lot of haters here. I feel like every single person, male, female, non-binary, anyone has had a life experience that imbues their voice with a certain quality, and there is no competition, and everyone deserves to be heard. And I feel like, not everyone is willing to do all the stuff that we have to do, create a commercial demo, an animation demo, a promo demo, a movie trailer. I mean, it's just endless work. But if you enjoy that, go for it. But every single voice is unique and important and vital, and representation matters. And so I just really, really encourage anyone listening who might have any sort of negative self-talk in their head to really encourage them that they matter, that their voice deserves to be heard. And if they're willing to put in the work, it leads to great things. And, we're all here and love you and welcome you.
Yeah. I just thought of something, like your comments on it. What about women in sports?
That's fun. I did a demo for that specifically. I was the voice of the X Games, and I'm a huge sports nerd.
Yeah.
I box. I like hockey. I basically I used to beat up boys. No offense, but yeah, I'm a little rugged. I'm a little rugged, and yeah. So
Tomboy here.
oh, let's go. So so and I used to play football with the boys, and I cut my chin open one time. Not TMI, but just my dad had to break it to me that there are no female football players. That was like the hardest day for me on earth, but whatever. Anyway, yes, I highly recommend that women carve out that space. I think with all the female athletes that are so prolific. I mean, we just had the SP Awards with, Simone Biles was honored. There's so many incredible strong females that are excelling in that area, that there is a place for us. And, I've done soccer stuff, I've done NFL stuff, like I said, the X Games, but go for it. Create that demo and send it. Let's do this. They're very open to it. So anyway.
Yeah, and also look
Yeah.
at other sports too, not just the big named ones, football, basketball, whatever, but volleyball. Maybe there's a volleyball tournament, or pickleball nowadays, right?
Pickleball!
Pickleball's huge. Maybe they need an
Huge.
announcer or something for a pickleball game. You don't know.
Or
And there's
the
also
cheerleading contest.
cheerleading. Yes.
I swear, ESPN runs that.
There you go.
Women should be doing that.
Absolutely. And also it's kind of a sister is sports casting, like the people interviewing the players and everything. Got to give a shout out to my girl Stacey Pates. She's one of the sportscasters for rugby. So
Yes!
I mean, again, don't just keep the tiny little bucket, open that bucket wide up and see what else you could throw in there, because there's so much opportunity out there. There's so many other things that maybe you're not thinking of. So think outside the box. Pickleball, who knew?
Yeah, well, we were here to talk about what's outside the box. I think people are a little uncreative in their approach.
Well, I'll say one thing. I worked for many years before I booked a job at Disney for animation. And I remember asking my friend, what do I got to do? I mean, for real though. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take an animation class with one of the casting directors for Disney. And I found out that Disney hates it when you slate in character. Okay, I could have spared like 10 years of pain, but great. So the next thing I auditioned for, I did not slate in character. Slating is, Vanessa Marshall as announcer, or, whatever the character is, you say your name and the character. And I had been taught by other people to say, Vanessa Marshall as a whole, but they cannot stand that. They also want to know your range. I ended up booking a part in a Star Wars cartoon with that same person after taking the class. So Jodi teaches, Jessica teaches. I'm on Skills Hub, and I try to help as much as I can, but these two are like far more experienced in that. And I often refer everyone to Jodi because she has helped me so much. But my point is this: if we are creative about where we look for opportunities, and that includes classes, that I have chosen to view this experience that I am a perpetual student. I am always a rookie. I am a professional, and I'm on time and I'm on point, but I have the heart of a rookie. And that means that I will continue to take classes. There's always more to learn. And that almost a kind of humility allows new opportunities to come in unexpected ways. So I would say yes to any and all classes. I know they cost money, but they're well worth it.
Look for those classes and take those classes that you wouldn't normally think of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For fun, even. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, Vanessa, tell people how to reach you.
Easiest way to find me is my website, vanessamarshall.com. There you'll find all my socials and all the events that I'm doing and all the things that I'm up to. I'll say really quickly, I'm doing a podcast on iHeartRadio with the Star Wars Rebels. Yes, I was on Star Wars Rebels as the voice of Hera Syndulla, and we're doing a Star Wars Rebels rewatch with Tia Surkar, Taylor Gray, and myself, and we have all sorts of different guests from across various medium, and we talk about the story and the value of story and chosen family. And it's just been such a lovely experience. It's called Pod of Rebellion. That's also on my website, but I invite you to come join us. It's a really fun hang. So, and I'm honored to have been here today. And I just want to say thank you, Jodi. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Jessica. And thank you to everyone who showed up and listened. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. Blue, how do people reach you?
Same website, jessicablue.com. Same thing. All my socials are there. Link to my schedule so you can schedule a private or a class with me. I don't have any classes yet right now on my schedule because I'm currently in production on a show. And speaking of which, if you want to watch some live action dub, the last 2 shows that I did, I have not posted about them because I've been like boom, 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 one after the other. But go to Amazon Prime. Look up Divorce Insurance and or Good Boy. 2 awesome shows, series, so much fun. Great. They both turned out fantastic.
What are the original languages?
Both Korean.
What?
They're fantastic. Yes.
Dude.
Korean.
Love it.
They're really, really good. So, yeah.
And you can reach me at jodigottliebvo.com. All my stuff is there. So hang with me. I have to do some business here.
Wait, Jodi, before you do that, can they find out about connecting the dots at your website?
No.
Oh,
email me.
Oh,
no. Email me and I will send you information or put you on the list. Okay. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both. Both of you, when I asked you to do this, didn't even finish the sentence. Yes. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. So want to shout out to everyone who joined us. And if you want to support Building Doors, buy us a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/buildingdoorsvo to donate. Want to become a 2026 door builder and revoice a spot originally voiced by a man featured in the campaign? Submissions will be open, write this down, September 10 through 24. Make sure to look for how to submit via our social media channels. Okay, there's a phone number here I'm searching for. Yeah, keep the conversation going. Call 216-307-1917 anytime to leave us a short voicemail and your thoughts on today's discussion. We'd love to hear from you. Coming up next, don't mix our next live event, LinkedIn Live with Natasha Marchuka. I hope I said that right. Topic, LinkedIn Challenge. That's August 13th at noon Eastern on LinkedIn. Did I leave anything out? Nope. Okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you both for an eye-opening conversation. I learned from you both. Appreciate you doing this, and we'll be tapping you again.
Lovely. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.